On one fateful day, the girls made a fatal error.
You know what I love? Low-hanging fruit. Let me run this by you real quick. Powerpuff Girls, the fun little cartoon show where 3 adorable girls beat the hell out of villains and learn life lessons. The boys love it because action, and the girls love it because there's girls in it. Now, what if we took that show and turned it into a live action series, and we're letting the CW drive the boat?
This will hurt someone. Don't do that.
It shouldn't surprise you that the show didn't even get a chance to take off. To quote Kotaku, why the fuck did I pick Kotaku as a reference? Whatever. A trailer for the scrap show has been published online, and Powerpuff Girls fans are both glad the show never saw the light of day and morbidly curious of what it could have been. Powerpuff Girls fans, you know, it's funny because not only did the show appeal to youngins, you know, the target demographic, it also appealed to adults, especially nowadays, partly because a lot of adults around my age are adults in name only. Yo, the majority of this article was cream pied with Twitter reactions. I strongly dislike modern journalism. Okay, that'll do, Kotaku. Before we take a look at the trailer, I have to address the fact that Warner Bros. Was, and probably still is, on a copyright takedown spree, proving that this is canon, but I will show the trailer anyway because I think that both the CW and Warner Bros. Are pussy, and they won't do shit. Let's hope I'm right about that. Stop. Dog, they got the black guy who did the Fortnite dance playing Professor Utonium.
Who the fuck are you?
Can I help you?
Oh,
Hey,
do something! Fucking
Help! He's black!
Bro, they only watched the first 5 seconds of the animated intro and concluded that he was an African American. By the way, producers, this is what Senior Utonium looks like. Of course, they are well aware of this. In general, this kind of shit is usually done either because they found the best person for the job, or real world demographics, underrepresentation, and we need to inspire those colored kids. People of colored kids. Remember what AOC said in her Message from the Future video?
It's often said, you can't be what you can't see.
And you know what? She's absolutely correct. I remember when I was a jit and I was watching Peter Parker swing through Manhattan. I thought he was alright, a good C tier, maybe D tier superhero. Like, there's no way he's the most popular Marvel character ever, right? So when he got cooked in the Ultimate Universe, I was so glad when Editor-in-Chief Axel Alonso said,
The obvious question was, when you have an iconic figure of this importance die, who do you replace him with? We've got a president right now of mixed ethnicity, so why not one of the biggest superheroes in the world?
That's right, Marvel was inspired by Barack Obama when they created Miles Morales, and when he put on that suit, I finally felt that connection that was missing with Peter Parker. I said to myself, finally, an original superhero that can inspire me on a personal level. When I get the chance to do a video on the Sony Spider-Man games, I will say some of the most vile things about Miles. Don't say I didn't warn you. Back on topic, it would be safe to assume that Diablo Cody and the gang would stop at getting the professor's appearance wrong and leave it at that. And let's put a pin on that. Alrighty, it's been 4 seconds and I'm already a full-blown hater. We're off to a great start. So Professor Tyronium is in a lab and he makes a scientific breakthrough, the Powerpuff Girls. Okay, what the fuck? The trailer makes no reference to Chemical X, which is a missed opportunity. I mean, it would have been a great excuse as to why the girls came out in Neapolitan flavor. Blossom is now Asian, Buttercup is now black, but Bubbles is still Aryan. Finally, me and my Chinese friend can relate to the Powerpuff Girls on a personal level. I mean, it's not like most boys just pick Buttercup as their favorite based on her aggressive personality. But I'm a boy and Bubbles is my favorite character. Shut up, bitch, I'm generalizing.
Was protecting Townsville from evil.
Alright, I gotta admit, this headline is pretty funny.
Good job.
Later on, we find out that they were going to turn Mojo Jojo into a father-son duo, with Mojo being the dad and Jojo being the son. What the hell? Okay, I know the CW quickly blew through their hairy primate budget after The Flash. From the looks of it, didn't seem like there was much to begin with. Hold up, wait, Gorilla Grodd was in another CW show?
Barack Obama. It will almost be an honor to kill you.
This clip alone is probably better than this leaked trailer. And only people with a sense of humor as bad as mine would be amused by getting an actor that looked like Mojo Jojo. Bro, imagine the PR backlash if they got that nigga from Everybody Hates Chris in a purple tarp. But screw all of that, why would you even do this? There's like 20 other villains that would be easier to portray. And if, major emphasis on if, the show was successful, you could tease him, then crowdsource the money for the CGI on the side.
They're all so cool, especially Blossom.
Is that kid on drugs? Fast forward, and the PPGs are now teenagers, and it seems that Blossom lost about 50% of her Asianness. Yeah, I, along with a lot of other people, thought that she was 100% white, but I checked the wiki. She's Anglo-American and Chinese.
Breaking news, I'm Chinese.
I did have some suspicion after noticing that some of her facial expressions brought out her Asian side a little bit more. That is crazy to say, but I'm gonna power through it. Part of me wants to believe that the show would have the ovaries to bring this up as a joke, but considering that it already shows signs of it being a faux edgy product, I'm sure they were just gonna leave it alone. Anyways, each Powerpuff Girl has her own coming of age ailment, or trouble in paradise as the narrator likes to put it. TIP for short. Buttercup becomes a— oh my god, this looks like ass. Buttercup becomes a Tumblr user.
I'm not wearing that dress anymore. It's gender normative and ass ugly.
Okay. Bubbles is an alcoholic. That's not funny. Why would you do this? I don't see this as a situation where I feel any sort of emotion towards her as a character. My anger is entirely directed towards the writers, because why would you take Bubbles, the most adorable PPG off rip, and turn her into an addict? It just seems like a cheap attempt of being dark and subversive. I love how the show was supposed to cater to adults, and we're starting off with the markers of immaturity. Terminology straight out of an overpriced communication course, I would know. And alcoholism. Really says a lot about society. Wait, it actually does. Touche, Diablo Cody. Oh, and I almost forgot. What's Blossom's disability?
Blossom was constantly stressed.
That's it?
Ah yes, rebelling against women's stereotypes to adhere to your tomboy nature, coping with your numbing and traumatic experiences through the means of alcoholic beverages, and being anxious. One of these things is not like the other. I don't know. To me, it seems like there's a massive discrepancy between Buttercup and Bubbles' TIP and Blossom's TIP. Well, regardless of their woman problems, the Powerpuff teenagers suit up to confront Mojo, and he gets, bro, this looks like shit. You can just feel the spiritual pressure of the Temu harness and green screen. I get that this could be an attempt to be campy, but I don't think you can do that when you have this cartoon as a source material. The action was a driving force of the original series, and when you show this instead, it genuinely makes me worried about how the fighting scenes are going to look when you have these girls hanging around like SpongeBob after his Goofy Goober song. But I digress. And he gets killed by accident. Alright kid, in this scene you find out that your father was killed. I want pain, anger, confusion even. I want pure emotion when you say this line. You ready? Okay, action. Fuck it, take 5. After the death of Mojo, not Jojo, that kid becomes the mayor of Townsville by the way, the PPs break up. First we have Buttercup, she completes her Tumblr arc by cutting her hair short.
Buttercup became a real hero.
What? Bubbles heads to Hollywood Boulevard, where she tries her hand in selling memorabilia. Yo, I've been there. You don't even want to imagine the kind of smells that come from that place. So why would you put poor Bubbles in this kind of a situation? Did the entire writing team have her at the bottom of the popularity list? Again, my sights are directed at the writers, not literally in Minecraft, instead of the character herself. You could have framed her as a somewhat successful social media influencer after breaking off from the team. But now I have to believe that this chick who can fly and freeze people with her breath is stuck in the #1 pound for pound worst neighborhood in California.
OGs will know that Blossom in the cartoon has ice powers from time to time, but it's not like they care about the source material that much.
Well, better here than Figueroa Street, I guess. Did they think that this gag was so funny that it had to be in the show? Then I totally don't feel bad about this shit getting vaulted. And Blossom, runs away. Yeah, that's straight up all the info we're given. I'm noticing another discrepancy here. It is possible that this could be a setup for a story arc that might warrant the tight-lipped nature, but it's still jarring to see how much shit we're not given for the leader of the Powerpuff adult women. Whatever, 7 years later and JoJo clicks up with a little girl, and they concoct a scheme to take out Professor Tyronium. Hold on, wait, you're gonna love this part.
Not to mention that cartoon that completely whitewashed us.
Everybody calm down, put down your torches and listen to me. Look, I think it's okay okay for newer projects to make fun of their predecessor, but here are the caveats. Rule number 1, don't be disrespectful. And rule number 2, you better make sure that your shit is on par or even better than the older product. Have any of y'all played Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League recently? I thought so. In this case, putting aside the second instance of dropping liberal arts terminology, this was an attempt of being all tongue-in-cheeky. We know that they know that the cartoon came first, so rule number 1 holds up. Kinda. However, this aborted show is throwing the punch. Yeah, well, at least 1 out of 2 ain't so bad.
This is exactly like the gathering of the Juggalos. Oh yeah, I'm down with the clown.
Okay, seriously, what did Bubbles do to you guys personally?
Almost paid!
This part where the girls are watching TV is hilarious because they're so damn close that Blossom has to switch her shoulders to italics mode. When's the last time you sat this uncomfortably close on a couch with your siblings? You would imagine that this is the part where we see the highlights of the action, and we, get to see Blossom bitch slap her mind-controlled dad, along with a robot monster that probably took the rest of the CGI budget to animate, all $200 of it. After the Powerpuff save the day, JoJo comes in to apologize, I guess, with a sprinkling of flirting with Blossom, and it somehow works despite him wearing some fuck shit. Bro, he's got a double-breasted blazer with a t-shirt underneath and blue jeans. I know it's like my 3rd time saying this on the channel, but this time I really mean it. He has the worst fit I've ever seen. How is one supposed to believe that this dude with the autistic millionaire uniform could rizz up this souped up half Asian woman? Yeah, bro, and a person like Todd could definitely pull Marvin's wife. Get the fuck out of here with that. The puffs talk about boners and the trailer ends. Oh my, that was a huge steaming pile of shit. How do you take a cartoon show that was known for having 3 adorable girls beat some ass, then learn the lesson of the day, and turn it into a lazy, cheap, lame attempt of hitting that campy bone? The action took a backseat of the backseat, and the little time that was spent on it was terrible. Besides only a few instances of combat, they just had these girls in a green screen studio tied to a string and told them to go crazy. Now, I'm willing to give some slack on the action in that this isn't the final product. Who knows? Maybe if the show actually came out, the action would have been much better on the CW. Yeah, that's a possibility, not a probability. The writing, on the other hand, is somehow worse, and if it wasn't already obvious, the show is going to be millennial coded. And when I say millennial coded, I specifically mean the ones who still use the term adulting unironically and love self-help books that have swear words in the title. Don't worry, I know that all of y'all don't fall into that category. Some of you are cool enough to drink from the same water fountain as us normal people. Millennial coded writing often prioritizes the personal beliefs of the creators over the narrative itself. Now, it's true that the other writing styles share the same issue, but the difference lies in the colloquialisms and the references that the creators make. So if you see a story that involves mental health, fighting the big evil corporation / government, sexuality, college debt, with it being wrapped in terminology that's way out of date, it's probably millennial writing. And this project is drenched in it, dripping even, scaring off anybody who isn't in that circle. The cartoon didn't need to date itself with this kind of vernacular to attract an audience. They touched on topics that anybody can follow, and with that, it appealed to almost everybody. Kids, adults, socialists, capitalists, racists, even the racists loved it. Is that a photo of me? So why would you zoom into a demographic that has relatively esoteric interests and beliefs, to the point that everybody else will end up feeling alienated? This isn't a successful business strategy. You know what? At least you guys didn't do a self-insert with one of your writers involving a very inappropriate storyline. Wait, it turns out that this was a team decision rather than the work of one writer. That's somehow worse than it already was. Now, some of you might respond by saying, Jason, there was only like 2 university terms in the trailer, you're overreacting. Maybe you agree with Leia from the Mary Sue.
It is crystal clear that the Powerpuff Girls reboot knew exactly what it was. It hits a very specific exaggerated comedic tone that's more Josie and the Pussycats than
Riverdale.
Oh, Leia, sweetheart, you're a writer from the Mary Sue. I'm sure you would hate me calling you that, but sweetheart, in order for a show to hit a comedic tone, it has to be funny in the first place. Oh wait, you thought that this was funny?
What does it say about me that I think this show looked like it had the potential to be hilarious and good?
Well, you certainly give more ammo to the people that believe that comedy is more objective than subjective. Even your homegirl Amanda knows that shit is ass. Friendly fire, friendly fire. But sorry, I'm digressing a little bit. You might think that the trailer isn't weird in that regard. Well, there's a script of the first episode, and oh boy, does it double the fuckery. Speaking of fuckery, Leia, what are your thoughts on the leaked script?
It's solid and very funny. It's kind of a biting ode to millennial burnout and Peter Pan syndrome. It's a more grown-up take, obviously.
Okay, at least we have confirmation that it's painfully unfunny, but I want to go through it anyways to see what's up. When I'm finished, I'll probably just hit you with the lowlights so you can get a better idea of what they were allegedly cooking. Alright, BRB.
1 hour later.
Alright, I'm finished, and yo, if this was greenlit, YouTube creators would have made more bank criticizing this than the people who worked on it. Let's start with the dumbest decision that they were going to make, Professor Utonium. The trailer itself had somewhat questionable moments relating to Professor Utonium's character. You know, not enough moments where he's the wise, caring, and patient father to the girls, but there was that one part towards the end.
You're my daughter's first.
This could have dispelled any suspicion that they're going to pull out the proverbial gun and assassinate this character. However, in this script, they light his ass up. According to this draft, they're going to make him some sort of a fabulous Moolah / Ashley from The Boys type of character, and that he is effectively whoring out the Powerpuff Girls, looking at them as more of a brand than a superhero trio consisting of his test tube daughters trying to keep the city safe. Less family stability and more capitalism, I guess. Examples include him nagging at Bubbles for not sticking to the character Bible, disrespecting his woman in front of the Powerpuffs, letting out a monster just to have the ratings recover, and the major instance of immoral behavior is the trust fund lie. See, the secondary reason that the girls came back to Townsville was to collect the money that they were promised by their dad. However, when they meet up with the lawyer, it's revealed that the money can only go as far as a down payment on a modest house in a Rust Belt state. Prior to this, the professor was uncomfortable when the trust fund came up in conversation, and this is why. He spent all of that money on, prepare yourself for something funny, he spent all of that money on investing in fidget spinners, croissants, doing a fusion dance with donuts, creating cronuts, and real estate. Guess which year though? 2008. So, in the live-action series, the plan was to turn Professor Utonium into an S-tier piece of shit who cared more about making money off of the Powerpuff Girls than being a good father like he was in the original series. Besides the obvious issue of shitting on a character that everybody loves, they now have to outsource that kind of dynamic to a different character, effectively giving themselves more work to do. And of course, he doesn't get the chance to redeem himself like Red Star did in Teen Titans. Maybe not exactly like that, he blew up in space and then showed up to the big battle with no explanation. Sorry, I binged Teen Titans recently. Instead, the girls stepped in and saved the professor along with the rest of the town from the mind control devices. Then at the end of the show, he teases a heel turn. My goodness. Thank God this shit got canned, or else we would have reached Saints Row 2022 levels of IP sabotage. So if I have this right, the show is going to derail the Professor Utonium love train and have him potentially be a major antagonist, while the three main characters are underprepared for the task of being attractive heroes for the audience. If they had him as he was in the original series, he would be a major positive in this show. Wait, they turned the father black and all of a sudden he's a bad parent. What do they mean by this? The next lowlight that's worth talking about might be crazier than their plans with the professor. Check it, you know Buttercup, right? Looks like this, uses the term gender normative unironically. Well, surprisingly, she's gay. Yeah, boy, she's into that gay shit, out here fucking bitches, playing for the same team, the other team, she's playing for the gay team. And how shocking is that? What are the odds of that happening? For real though, you know that the writers were in the office just itching, veins popping out of their head, endless foam coming out of their mouth. They couldn't wait to slap that gay sticker on Buttercup just because she's a tomboy. And newsflash niggas, tomboys don't usually flip the gay switch, that's just a common misconception. You would imagine that these people would know that, but I guess some things take priority over others.
I was defending myself against misogynist morons and pretending I was straight for the cameras.
Daring today, aren't we?
This is like if Mike and Brian turned Toph into a lesbian after The Last Airbender ended. She is aggressive, she loves throwing hands, and she only wore a dress like a couple of times. By the live-action Powerpuff standards, Bryke had every right to turn up the gay with Toph, but no, they didn't do that because they knew that would be nonsensical and unnecessary. Instead, they turned her into a bad mother with 2 baby daddies. Then they made Kyoshi a part-time homosexual. And even she couldn't normalize it in the Earth Kingdom because of how militaristically repressive they are. Yeah, Kyoshi, the King Vaughn of avatars, couldn't do much. You know what? I'm not gonna get into it. Besides all the questionable plot choices they've made, the rest of the script is filled with painfully unfunny jokes. There's a MoveOn.org reference, something that only people over the age of 30 might understand. Honestly, I get it. I like making jokes that only a few people will get. The difference is I'm not trying to produce a successful network television show. There's also a reference to the Orange Man and others who are affiliated with him. That's weird. And how could I forget the Harambe reference? Hold on, just checking. Yeah, this was aiming for a 2021 release. Okay, that's enough of the script, and the entirety of the live action for that matter. To sum it up, it sucks. I hope the people that worked on this, specifically the ones who thought that this was a good idea, I hope they never find work again for the sake of storytelling as a whole. The casting choices were strange, the changes to the characters were dumb, the direction of the plot was going to lead to a massive train wreck, and even without the shoehorned in ideology, the premise wasn't going to get them far. Animation is supposed to give more freedom for the creators to make more captivating action sequences. Emphasis on supposed to. I'm looking at you, Invincible. But when you seemingly go full on campy like the live action did, you have to rely on the writing more, and judging by the script draft, they were shit out of luck. There is a way to create a live action Powerpuff Girls series that's not shitty. All you have to do is turn it into a Power Rangers like show. Stay with me here, let me cook. Have the Powerpuff Girls be high school students who also partake in jumping bad guys. The writing would have to pivot from the dark and mean-spirited comedy, of course. I see this as a major W, and the action can be a copy and paste of the Saban series. You might be able to work in a morphing sequence. Is it a great idea? Not really. Would it be a successful show? Probably not. But is it better than the CW project? Yes, but if the CW really wanted to go in this direction, it should have been a totally spy series instead. At least one of the girls is actually a minority, and they wouldn't have to worry about blowing through most of the special effects budget. Either way, they would have to deal with the same problem that a lot of these reboots are plagued with, and that's justifying its existence. So what's the big takeaway? Well, besides the fact that we should be aware of the people who are willing to bastardize beloved IPs all for sloppy ideological expression, and we should call them out for their lack of talent, for sure. Look, I just really wanted to make fun of something that looks dumb. But there is a live action adaptation that was actually greenlit, and although it was only for one season, its mere existence is worth a video consisting of me bullying it for about an hour. But that's for another time. I gotta go procrastinate some more.